Hello, I want to speak today about influence. Who we are today is the result of a multitude of people who have touched our lives since the day that we were born. Our parents, family, friends, colleagues, teachers and mentors. And of course, as Christians, God himself. Three people who impacted my life from a very early age and in my formative years were my great-grandfather, a miner all his working life and a very godly man. My grandfather, he was an evangelist in the early years of our movement and went on to plant more than 20 Elim churches. I gave my life to Christ under his ministry. And of course my father, a businessman who was also a pastor and planted a church in Manchester. There have been many more people at other stages in my life, as you might imagine, but they're just some. Now, just as we are influenced by others, the greatest responsibility and privilege that anyone has as a leader in the local church is that 9-letter word, influence. In the church that I pastored before I was elected to this role, I was approached by one of the senior leaders in the church who told me that he had been thinking about something for a long time and felt he needed to resign as an elder. He went on to say that when reading his Bible, he was struck by the verse that said that an elder should be able to teach. I began to see where he was coming from. The leadership team of which he was a part was comprised of some excellent preachers and communicators, and I knew that gifted though he was, preaching was not his primary forte. I was able to tell him, however, that though he wasn't a teacher in the sense of preaching sermons, he was in fact one of the top teachers in our church. He had a demanding role within the church that needed a great deal of grace and sensitivity. How he handled his position and the godly example he was setting to new Christians and seasoned Christians alike was a masterclass in what a leader should be. Not only was he a teacher, he was one of the best around. Happily, he saw the point and 15 years later still gives sterling service as a leader in that church. Nor should we believe that it's the extrovert, God's man for the hour kind of person that's the leader that exercises the most influence. Sociologists say that the most introverted personalities influence 10,000 people in their lifetime. And another thing, it's not about style or charisma either. Rick Warren put it well when he said, "You can impress people from a distance, but you can only influence them up close." Let's look at two stories, both with a Jewish background. One concerns a man who had a profitable business and attended the synagogue regularly. On moving to Germany, his son was amazed that, given that he knew he wasn't a Christian, that his father had decided to attend a Lutheran church. Why was this? He asked him. And he got the answer. He said it was simple. Well, son, business is business. That son was Karl Marx, who became one of the architects of communism that was to send millions to their death, and who wrote that he considered religion to be the opium of the people. We will never know to what degree his father's action influenced him, but we do know that his input was significant. Almost 3,000 years earlier, the boy David courageously brought down the giant Goliath. When he became king, the Bible records that he had giant killers in his army. Was that a coincidence, or was that influence? 2 Samuel 21 verse 20 says that his nephew slew 2 giants himself. Was that coincidence, or was it influence? Millions of people have read the story of David and Goliath and been inspired to believe God for great things despite the overwhelming obstacles that they have faced. Put another way, influence and influenza have one thing in common: they're contagious. Albert Schweitzer once said, "Example is not the main thing that influences other people, it's the only thing." Of course, we need to remember that the core reason for extending influence as a spiritual leader is not to make a platform for ourselves. There's no doubt that some people have done that and proved that some people need leadership more than leadership needs them. Extending your positive influence as a leader in the local church enables you to become a role model to those you lead. After all, influence is at the very core and root of discipleship, and discipleship is what the church is all about. God bless you. Thanks for watching, and don't forget, keep the caffeine flowing.